I call the Aleppo Township Workshop meeting of March 14th, 2022 to order at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
President Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Richard. Present. Commissioner Haluka.
Present.
Solicitor Stone.
Here.
Manager Patterson will be right back. Oh, Commissioner Dara.
On the phone.
Thank you, Commissioner Dara.
You're welcome, Commissioner Jones.
Do I hear a motion to approve the February 14th workshop meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the February 14th, 2022 workshop meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Solicitor Stone, would you like to introduce your guest?
Yes, thank you for recognizing me. I'd like to introduce Anna Jewett. Anna is one of a number of attorneys at Bass Callan who will be assisting me with my municipal practice. And I just wanted to introduce her to you so you would know who she was.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for having me tonight.
Welcome. And we have another guest who's pretty occupied.
Yeah, he
Well,
has a new game.
Said, stop talking to me.
Okay, old business. Gwen, weight limit, road bonding ordinance.
This is the ordinance we've been discussing for a couple months now, and it was scheduled to be adopted last month when we had to cancel a meeting, so I re-advertised it, so it'll be on the agenda for next week to vote and adopt.
Any questions?
None.
Request for parking regulations in Swickley Heights Manor, which I think the other subject is the island maintenance as well. Gwen, you want to bring us up to date a little bit?
So we received a letter at the end of January from Peter Cady, who's the president of the Manor Board, and he requested several things. He requested an ordinance regulating parking on...
Gwen, do you mind just reading that into the record?
Sure,
Do you mind?
sure.
Thank you.
It says, "Dear Mr. Jones, at a recent meeting of the Board of Directors, the board voted to request that Aleppo Township consider creating an ordinance regarding parking on the public roads in Sewickley Heights Manor. The board is requesting that the ordinance state that parking is not permitted on the road or median on Sewickley Heights Drive in the manor. Parking on Rockledge Drive in the Ridge is limited to the side of the street where the homes are located, and that parked cars can be towed at the owner's expense. Sewickley Heights Manor Homes Association would purchase and install signs to this effect. We would also ask that control of the median for all uses is with the Manor Board. Sincerely, Peter Cady." And we received that on January 27th.
Thank you. So prior to receiving that and post-receiving that, we've had a very brief discussion with the chief of the Ohio Township Police in regard to existing regulations regarding parking, enforcement of any new ordinances that we might pass. We've talked to our solicitor a little bit about the procedures for instituting ordinances. I personally had a conversation with the Manor staff to get a detail on the scope of this issue. In other words, we've been in the process of trying to define the problem so we can address it specifically as opposed to just parking or as opposed to just control. So as a result of the preliminary analysis, I think it's pretty clear, and Commissioner Dara, you might speak to this, there are some issues that need to be investigated further, and so we've decided that a committee is important to have to do that investigation. Commissioner Haluka has requested to be on that committee, and Commissioner Dara, would you be willing to serve on that committee as well?
I would.
Thank you very much. Now, does that require any kind of a motion or vote? So there is a committee, and Judy, you've thought about this a little bit. Would you describe to us and to anyone listening what the objective of the committee might be?
I have. I think the objective to begin with of the committee, the ultimate objective would be to solve the problem, come up with some kind of policy, some kind of understanding on what happens with parking, what happens with the islands. But I don't think we're even there yet. I think first step, we sit down with the board, from the manor and talk about what the problem is, define what it is, define if it even still exists, because some of the parking issues on Swickley Heights Drive were due to specific things. And then we define what we need to fix before we attend to fix it. So I think step one is a discussion. So I will get a hold of the board of the manor and get something on the calendar that meets Dan's schedule, meets their schedule, and we can sit down and start talking about what's going on.
Good. And some additional history to this. In the past, maybe 10 years ago, back even a little further, there was really a very informal policy. And then most recently, we had a request to put a flagpole at the entrance of Swickley Heights Manor. And we decided that because the manor residents would be most impacted, that it was fair to get their input in the process of our decision. And as a result of that, we do have a policy regarding improvements or activities on township property. We may have to take that a little further now, but we don't want to take any action in regard to parking ordinances or improving any agreements that we might have until we know exactly what we're dealing with. So thank you very much, Commissioner Luca. Thank you, Commissioner Dara.
You're welcome.
May I?
Yes,
You
sir.
may, Solicitor Stone.
So I don't think you need a formal motion to form a committee. You as president can appoint a committee. In this case, it's almost, I think, almost a subcommittee, more sub or an ad hoc committee. Than it's not a standing committee of council or of the commissioners. So there is one thing. With three commissioners meeting with
No,
another.
I'm not on the committee.
It's only myself and Dan.
Never mind.
We thought about that.
We took that.
Yep.
So I have a question. If we have a formal subcommittee and at some point another commissioner was needed to attend, if one of the subcommittee does not attend, as long as we stick with two.
You can have as many as you want on the committee. The question is how many go to the meeting.
Correct. Thank you very much for that clarification. And Gwen has offered to coordinate the meetings. Judy, if you like.
That's,
Glass
Sure.
recycling site. I think everybody's read in the Swickley Herald about that. I think we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, but Gwen, is there any more detail?
Just the information is that it opened on Saturday. The site opened on Saturday, and outside our building on the wall and on our website in 2 locations. We have it under latest news, and then we have it under the trash and recycling tab on the website. We have these flyers that explain what it is, the location of the
What is the
glass
location,
recycling. It is Swickley's Riverfront Park at 300 Chadwick Street. And then we have the rules about what they're accepting and what they're not accepting. So we have those things on our website for anybody to see. It is considered permanent, subject to success of the site, but it is not, this is not a 5-day location like it has been in the past. This is expected to stay there for several months, at least to see how the program works out.
Yeah, I think they said a 3-month trial, and their Public Works Department will check the site on a daily basis to make sure that it stays clean and there's not broken glass. So I hope we all use it and use it well and keep it clean. Any other discussion on the glass recycling? Nancy Drive cat complaint.
So I spoke to the property owner again, just to confirm that they're still working on the problem. I did pass along the name and contact information for a cat rescue organization that I believe is based in the Robinson area, but they are willing to come out and help. As of a couple days ago, I don't believe that the property owner had reached out to that organization yet. I'm gonna follow up with the property owner later this week. We did get some feedback from a neighbor in that area, and he said that they watched the video on the cat problem and disagrees with the catch and return program. They are not just staying on that property, they're roaming onto other properties in the neighborhood. They destroyed a pool cover by climbing on it and scratching holes into it. And I also got some, he said that you could fence in the area and maybe that might help. And then he sent some pictures of the destruction that the cats are doing at his property by using all his plantings as litter boxes and, that they're proof that there are cats over outside of this property. So we have some neighbors who think that perhaps the trap, neuter, and return program isn't quite enough at this point, but I don't know how to solve that yet, so.
I've spent quite a bit of time trying to deal with this, because I was kind of contacted on the side about that. I've talked to Animal Friends, Department of Health, Animal Rescue on North Side. There's a cat rescue on South Side called Animals, I don't know, something. And there really is not, feral cats are not considered a biologic problem. And so the only answer actually is to neuter, spay, and release, because to remove feral cat, I'm not a cat person, I'm a dog person, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm saying this right. To remove feral cats from a feral cat colony is literally killing the cats, because that's their hunting ground, that's where they know how to survive, etc. So nobody felt that I could find an animal agency that would be willing to trap, remove, and release somewhere else. And the thought is that if the environment still exists, that even if we could find somebody that would do that, that feral cat community would then be there again as different cats, even if it's not the same cats returning. But it is not, I tried to approach it as a biologic, as a health issue, and nobody considers feral cats to be a health hazard, because it technically is not a biologic. So I hit a dead end. I just wanted people to know that it's not for lack of trying, it's just everywhere we try, we're getting the same answer, which is neuter, spay, and re-release is the only program that anybody I can find has.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? New business, the Act 172 real estate tax refunds.
This is something we do every year. It's a tax credit that is given to certain volunteers in the township, either fire or ambulance volunteers. And the requirements are that you have to meet the service level requirements set out by the organization. So in our case, the Aleppo Township Volunteer Fire Company sets their own membership standards and what would qualify them. So we use their criteria, get the list from them about who's eligible for either an earned income tax credit or a real estate tax credit. So next week, you'll have a motion on your agenda to grant the real estate tax credit to the eligible first responders that live in Aleppo.
Is this the second year of this program?
This is probably the fourth,
Fifth, wow.
fourth maybe?
Been around a while.
Fourth
Okay.
year?
Well,
Yeah.
good, it's well deserved.
Mhm.
Any other discussion about the Act 172? Okay, do I hear a motion as written?
Motion to adopt the resolution applying for the local share account statewide grant application for the Deer Run Road Stormwater Project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Gwen, would you provide a little information on this?
Sure, this is a grant program that was more recently released, and we, HRG does these large grant applications for us because we usually are submitting them for engineering type projects. And this is seeking funding from the state, and is under this new program called Local Share Account. That's a grant program, and we're seeking funding to help with the stormwater pipe issue along Deer Run Road. So, and a resolution stating that we are seeking that as part of the application process. This does not mean, unfortunately, that we were awarded it, just this is part of the application that gets submitted. And we received a letter of support from Valerie Gatos' office as well. That will be included in the application.
Good, and we are still investigating the ownership of the stormwater system referenced.
Correct. We are still following up with that information, yes.
Any other discussion or questions? Any other new business?
Vote?
Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes belatedly.
Thank you.
Any other new business?
Just a quickie. I've received 7 phone calls in the last week on another subject. Actually, I've received about 12. But 7 of the 12 phone calls that I've received on another subject have mentioned the fantastic job that Aleppo Township has done with the recent snow. So Tim is to be congratulated, and whoever else is out there in that truck, but people are noticing, people are commenting about it, that the township roads were cleaner than any of the surrounding roads, and quicker. So kudos to the system and to Tim in particular.
And I can report for Tim that the new salt spreader that we purchased has really allowed him to more evenly distribute the salt, because the old one was kind of lumping and excessively applying, and dogs were getting sore feet, etc. So our most recent capital purchase has done well.
And people have noticed.
Good. I will pass that along to all. We have 2 full-time, Tim and Jim, and then we have a third guy who's a local area resident and named Vince, who comes in when we have heavy snows. He runs the 3rd truck. So I will pass
Wonderful.
along to all of them.
Yeah, people are noticing.
Any other new business? Commissioner Dara, do you have any comments?
None. Thank you.
Are there any citizens actively
Max?
communicating?
Max has nothing to say.
Nothing? Do we require an executive session, Mr. Solicitor?
Not in my opinion.
Then meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.